Team, it's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with 100 wild facts about Australia you never knew. Before we dive in, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, give the video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. We back with our guy Tristan Kuhn. Tristan! Oh my God.
What's good, y'all? Tristan here, and today we are back with part 2 of 100 sick, crazy, cool, awesome facts about Australia. If you haven't seen the first one where I talk about the first 50 really cool facts about Australia, you can check it out right there. Without further ado, let's get into it. The second 50 sick facts about Australia. Number 51 is that nearly 30% of Australians were born abroad. That's nearly 1/3 of the population here. Kind of crazy.
That's pretty cool. 30% of Australians were born. Dang.
52 is that Australia is still part of the Commonwealth, so the Queen of England, being the head of state here, could technically overthrow the entire government if she wanted to and call for a re-election. Matter of fact, in
now the king. R.I.P. to the Queen.
1975, there were some problems here in Australia, and yeah, Queen of England called for a re-election of the government here. I am an American now living here in Australia, and cool. Americans get a lot of shit for being really fat. We are one of the fattest countries in the world at 36% obesity rate. Well, I think our obesity problem lets Australia kind of slide under the radar a little bit because they are also a very obese country. The obesity rate here is 29%, so almost 1 in 3 people in Australia are obese.
Dang, so 36% of us, 29% of Australia. It's not a terribly huge difference. Know what I'm saying? It's not that just goes to show you there's obese people everywhere. There's big people everywhere.
The obesity rate here is 29%, so almost 1 in 3 people in Australia are obese. Another one is that both kangaroos and emus cannot walk backwards, and that's actually why they are on Australia's coat of arms. It is to signify progression, like always moving forwards. Something super basic about Australia, but also kind of hard to conceptualize is, look at the map of Australia. It looks like it's much wider than it is tall. But matter of fact, Australia is almost just as long north to south as it is east to west, just being 300 kilometers wider than it is tall. Next up is here in Australia, they have exploding trees. I know, I didn't believe it either when I first heard it, but the eucalyptus trees here, which is the trees that koalas live in and eat, they have an oil in them that is very flammable, so sometimes during forest fires and stuff, when the tree's on fire, it can kind of explode.
That's kind of crazy to think about, like a tree that like explodes. Like I understand trees catching fire, but when this tree catch on fire, there has a possibility of actually exploding. It's kind of insane to me.
Now, something I've really enjoyed learning about in my time in Australia is the Aboriginal people and Aboriginal culture. Before coming to Australia, I didn't even know anything. I didn't even know Aboriginals existed. I'd never even heard of them. But there are lots of really cool...
Before watching these videos, yeah, I legit never heard of Aboriginals. When I thought of Australians, I never heard of Aboriginals as well. That's crazy to think
facts about them, and I feel like this list would kind of be incomplete if I did not include some cool Aboriginal facts. So here are 5 cool facts about Aboriginal. First, it is the oldest living population and oldest living culture, and things show that they've been here in Australia for about 60,000 years. Before Western colonization, there were about 500 Aboriginal tribes here, and they spoke 250 different languages with about 800 total dialects. Aboriginals were the inventors of the boomerang. They used it for hunting so that whenever they threw it trying to kill something, it would come back if they had ever missed.
That's so freaking cool, bro. I didn't know Aboriginals invented the boomerang. They used it to hunt. So like, dang, y'all was throwing it with force then? Like for it to, cause you use it to hunt, you try to kill something with that joker, I guess knock it out but I guess if you miss, hey, it come right back, you get another throw at it. That's genius. Love it, Aboriginals.
They also invented the didgeridoo, which is one of the world's oldest known instruments. They have very rich culture and art, and they are actually paintings that they have found that are 30,000 years old. Now, while there are a lot of really cool, awesome facts about Aboriginals, and they have a very rich history, there's also a much darker, kind of more modern history with Aboriginals ever since colonialization. And I feel like it just wouldn't be right to talk about Aboriginal history and culture without mentioning any of the more sad and like unfortunate recent history that's happened with Western colonization. The reality is just like in many other colonized countries like America, the indigenous people have been very mistreated. There are horrible things like the stolen generation, but two facts that I wanted to focus on for this video is that Aboriginals' life expectancy here in Australia is still 10 years shorter than the life expectancy of non-Aboriginal Australians.
Wow.
Hey, future Tristan here, and I just wanted to clarify, I realized I said some things wrong when originally recording. So the life expectancy for Aboriginals has actually increased a little bit recently. So it is no longer 10 years less than non-Aboriginals. For men, it is 8.5 years less, and for women, it is about 8 years less than non-Aboriginal Australians. But another really sad and just, I don't know, almost unbelievable stat about Aboriginals' life expectancy is currently about almost half of Aboriginal men aren't reaching the age of 45, and about 1/3 of Aboriginal women aren't reaching the age of 45. Currently, the median age for Aboriginals is 60 years old.
Are you serious? Half of the men are not reaching the age of 45, and 1/3 of the women don't. Like, I legit, like, that's insanity to me, because I think, like, when I hit 45, I still feel like I got a whole nother 45 years left. I got at least 40, I feel like. But for half of the 1 out of every 2 men to not hit 45 is legit insanity to me. And 1 out of every 3 women to not hit 40, yeah, that's crazy.
Aren't reaching the age of 45. Currently, the median age for Aboriginals is 60 years old. Then the next sad fact that I said about Aboriginals, I realized was kind of 2 facts that I put into one, and it wasn't fully accurate, so I just wanted to re-say it. And that is, I was talking about the 1967 Aboriginal referendum here in Australia. So pretty much what that was is it was a referendum that considered Aboriginals as like part of the population here in Australia. But the sad part about it that I said that thankfully isn't fully true is I said it was legal to kill Aboriginals up until that point, which that is not the case. That was like, it was never legal to kill Aboriginals. But what I wanted to say that is sad is that there were tons of there are tons of massacres against Aboriginals all throughout the 1800s and 1900s, up to as recently as 1960. That's at least when like the last big one was. But I just kind of combined those facts, which was not true. Now back to some more lighter fun facts about Australia, and that is that Australia has lots of really cool inventions. I didn't even realize how many cool inventions were here in Australia. One being Google Maps. That was actually started in Australia before Google bought it. The first cochlear implant.
That's so dope. I knew about Google Maps, and I knew about this one as well. Yeah, Australia definitely has invented so much and has helped humanity progress so much. So shout out Australia.
Google Maps. That was actually started in Australia before Google bought it. The first cochlear implant was also invented here in Australia. Australians also invented the electric drill. They invented the ultrasound scanner and also plastic banknotes. They have really good money here in Australia, and they actually print notes for many other countries. More Australian inventions include the electronic pacemaker and black boxes and for flight records. They also invented dual flush toilets. Qantas, an Australian airline, invented the inflatable escape slides on airplanes in case of an emergency landing. And something I didn't even know was an invention, but I don't know, I guess it was, is this, which is, you're probably like, what is that, like shorts, pants? No, this is a permanently creased clothing. Yeah, permanently creased clothing was invented here in Australia. Yeah, I didn't even know that was an invention, but yeah, it is. Something else.
Hold up, I need some permanently creased clothing. I could definitely rock some permanently creased clothing. Hold on, Australia. I'm telling you, Australia done invented so much, and they're such an innovative country. Don't know where we'd be without them.
That they are really famous for inventing is they invented Wi-Fi technology. So all you people watching this video on Wi-Fi right now, make sure you give a little bit of gratitude to Australia. I've mentioned this in many of my videos, and Australians are probably getting tired of me saying this, so I promise this will be the last video I ever mention this in, and that is despite them inventing Wi-Fi and all this stuff, the Wi-Fi in Australia is actually really slow. The average speed is behind Thailand, India, Kazakhstan, Latvia, Vietnam. It's like almost like half the average of the world.
I hear it in so many videos, so yeah, I understand. Australia probably get tired of hearing it, because I do hear it in like so many different videos. That there's just Wi-Fi is slow, the internet's no way.
Thailand, India, Kazakhstan, Latvia, Vietnam. It's like almost like half the average of the world. It's super slow, but they do have plans to get it faster, so hopefully in the next couple of years that will be changed. And they also have really good 4G mobile data, so I guess that makes up for it a little bit. Next up is Fraser Island here, which is a beautiful island here. If you come, you have to see it. I love my time on Fraser, but it is the world's largest sand island at 75 miles long. Next up is Flinders Street Station, which is one of the most iconic places in one of Australia's biggest cities. It actually wasn't supposed to look the way it looked, so this is how it turned out, but the design company, which was based in England, actually mistook the plans for the Flinders Street Station with Mumbai's, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but that place. So long story short, this is Flinders Street Station. This is the place in Mumbai, and they were supposed to kind of look like the opposite of each other, but yeah, Design Place got the designs all switched up, and now this is what you got. This is what Flinders Street Station looks like. 79 is that there are many pink lakes here in Australia, particularly in like the southern part and also Western Australia. These lakes are pink because of an algae that grows in them, and yeah, I don't know, I just think they're really cool.
Yeah, shout out to the pink lakes. I think that's really dope. Like, I can't imagine seeing a pink lake. Like, that'd just be so freaking cool.
80, and that is that 95% of opals, which are this cool looking rock, come from Australia. 81 is there's a festival in Melbourne called Moomba. They got this name because the governor asked a Aboriginal council what is a good name to name it that like has some Aboriginal meaning behind it, and they came up with this, and it means like the great happy get together. But as I said, there are tons of Aboriginal languages and dialects, and in most dialects, Mumba pretty much means up your bum, up your butt. This is because mum, M-U-M, means butt in many Aboriginal dialects, and then ba means place of. So in some Aboriginal languages, like, it's kind of like saying like the up your butt festival. Next up is that Melbourne actually has the largest largest public transit system in the world. Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world, and Australia is in the top 10 for countries that drink the most alcohol per capita.
How? I don't know. It's so expensive. How do y'all drink? Is that why it's expensive? Because y'all in the top 10 and the government like, hey, we need them to chill out. We need them to stop drinking as much. But to be in I didn't think y'all be in the top 10, bro, because when I see like alcohol prices on certain videos, I'm like, bro, that's crazy. Like, I would not drink. I would not drink if it costed this much. So that's a wild one for me. That's definitely a wild one.
85 is that Australia is the flattest continent in the world, and 86 is that the oldest fossil in the entire world, that the oldest fossil to ever be discovered, was found in Western Australia. And if that is not cool enough for you, in Western Australia they also found the first signs of life on Earth. It was bacteria that was discovered that was about 32 billion years old. 88 is that recently Australia had 5 prime ministers within a 5-year period. And 89 is that there are over 200 languages that are actively spoken here in Australia, obviously English being the predominant one, but there are about 199 other ones, 45 of them being different Aboriginal languages. Number 90 is the capital of Australia, Canberra, which is kind of right in between Sydney and Melbourne, and it was actually specifically selected to be the capital of Australia because Melbourne and Sydney were fighting all the time for which like city should be the capital, so they just kind of put it right in the middle. Speaking of
that's funny. I didn't know that's why. I knew it was the capital. I didn't know that's why it was the capital. Melbourne and Sydney couldn't agree. They said, you know what? Let's just compromise and smack it in the middle.
Of Melbourne, back in 1880, Melbourne was actually the richest country in the entire world. There was a gold rush there, and yeah, helped it become the richest country in the world for a bit. 92, which is that James Cook, who is the English explorer kind of credited for really discovering Australia, wasn't actually the first European to discover Australia. There was a Dutch explorer in 1606 that actually discovered Australia, and there are several other ships that came here before James Cook did, but they never really like founded it. It's kind of like Christopher Columbus gets credit in America, even though there's like a lot of evidence that the Vikings were there first. Kind of same thing here. He was credited for discovering it because he was the one that like colonized it. 93 is that Australia is home to the oldest rainforest in the world. That is the Daintree rainforest. Is the oldest rainforest on this planet. 94
that
is
rainforest looked gorgeous, man. Absolutely gorgeous.
At the 12 Apostles looks like this. It's like a famous landmark along the Great Ocean Road. There's not actually 12 apostles. There never were 12 apostles. There are only ever 8, and then one's fallen down, so now there's only 7. But for some reason, they still call these little things the 12 apostles, even though there's not 12. 95 is that Melbourne was actually ranked the most livable city in the world for 6 years in a row. It no longer has that title, but there are still 3 Australian cities that are in the top 10 most livable cities.
Who took that title? What is the most livable city in the world now?
But speaking of Melbourne, even though it's not considered the most livable city in the world anymore, it is still the coffee capital of the world. They are so proud of their coffee there, and yeah, coffee capital of the world. Alright, just got a couple left. Just want to say, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a big old like. I'd really appreciate it. I spent so much time, like probably close to 8 hours, assembling this list, talking to Australians, trying to figure out these fun facts. And if you didn't like it, feel free to give it a dislike. That is totally okay.
Y'all go like the video. I mean, like, click on the original link. I have it down in the description. Like his video, but then like mine after you get done liking his. Because that kind of work. Shout out to Tristan Kuhn for putting in that work, man. Really, and it's really dope content. It's really a lot of facts that I had no idea about that I find absolutely fascinating. So shout out him for putting in the work. Like his video, like my video.
Australians trying to figure out these fun facts. And if you didn't like it, you know, feel free to give it a dislike. That is totally okay too. Anyways, next up is the Great Barrier Reef is actually the largest living organism in the entire world, and it can be seen from outer space. 98 is kind of a goofy fact, but that is that they don't say shrimp here in Australia. They say prawn instead. Why I am including this is because the #1 misconception that Americans have of Australia is that people say shrimp on the bobby here when like that's never said. The reason for this is because a long time ago there was this old like campaign commercial, I think it was to get people trying to like travel Australia. Here's the clip of it.
G'day viewers, I've just been telling the Yanks how Australia is the best place for a holiday and the friendliest place on earth. The beaches are crisp and clean, beer's cold, and there's plenty of shrimps on the bar.
Number 99 is that Australia has fought alongside the US in every single war the US has been in since World War I.
Shout out Australia. We can always depend on you. We can always depend on you, Australia. We know no matter what, we're going to be with us through thick and thin. You always going to have our back.
I actually didn't know this until recently, but Australia actually fought alongside the US in the Vietnam War. And the last fun fact about Australia, number 100, is related to the famous snack here, the famous little biscuit here called Tim Tams. If you haven't tried them, you definitely should because they are delicious. But the fun fact about them is that they actually got their name by this guy named Ross Arnott. He was the owner and founder of Arnott's Biscuits, which is the biscuit company that like makes Tim Tams. Anyways, he was watching the Kentucky Derby back in 1958, and the winning horse of the Kentucky Derby was a horse named Tim Tam. He liked the name a lot, and so a couple years later, when they released this new biscuit of theirs, they named it Tim Tam. If you'd like to see part 1 of the series where I talk about the first 50 cool facts about Australia, you know, just click on that video right over there. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this list. Peace out, guys.
Shout out Tristan Kuhn for another great video. That's all we got. You guys got a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy D Neal. Out.